This is the first chance to get around some of these draft prospects. I wasn't able to go to the Senior Bowl, the East-West game, so this will be my first opportunity to get in front of these guys and get to know them, as well as get in front of some of our agents of our current UFAs that we'll hopefully be able to bring back. So we'll start those conversations this week. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Joe, how much different is this combine for you? The fact that you have Jaxson, quarterback spot seems to be solidified, and that's not a cloud over guys having to do.
Yeah, I reflect each year on these meetings, and last year it was the quarterback situation. What are you going to do? And I said, we're going to take our swing. So it is nice to have that piece in place, to have a rookie quarterback that played well his rookie year and know who you're going to build around. So yeah, it's an exciting time for us and some of the other young core pieces that we have. So you're really going to build it around Jaxson, new head coach, and some other changes within the organization. So I'm excited about where we are, and this is the start of that process. I was behind, but this past week I was crushing it in the office doing film, because this research for the head coach, it did set me back. That was my priority. The first and foremost, it was find the best head coach for the New York Giants. So I spent a lot of time, in December, when I would normally be watching film, doing a lot of research on the coaching candidates. So I feel like I'm in a good spot from a free agency standpoint. In the last week, I've been able to play catch up on the college draft prospects, and I'll continue to do so, but really going to start focusing on free agency this week with the meetings that we're going to have, and then the strategy and planning starting next week.
We'll get back to that Joe Schoen interview coming up in a second, but first I want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Here at New York Giants Now by Chat Sports, we put out free videos every single day on the latest Giants news and rumors, so if that's what you're looking for, hit that sub button right now.
What have I learned about John? A lot of it we learned on the interview process. So, the leadership, the passion for football. He's a hard worker. He's a very hard worker. He's in there all the time. Great football mind, not just X's and O's, but, the leadership that he brings, the plan, the clarity in terms of how he wants to build a team. And his communication has been phenomenal. As you're getting to know somebody, no matter what the relationship is, you're trying to feel how people communicate, how they operate. Do I go down to his office? Does he come to mine? Do I text him? Does he text back? You're feeling through all that stuff initially in a relationship, but it's been phenomenal so far. Yeah, Coach and I's communication has been great. Again, it's when you got here, it's the first time you're going through everything together. So, yeah, how did you guys do this in Baltimore? Okay, this is how we did it. Okay, we're doing that exactly the same. Okay, now we get to pro days. How did you guys operate with pro days? Do you want coaches to go out to not go? So the process is the same. It's just over communicating on how we do things versus how they did things in Baltimore, or how he wants it done. So they've drafted well in Baltimore, and they've won a lot of games. So, again, we don't have all the answers. There's tweaks that we can make in our process that will make us better, and I'm open to that. So we've had a lot of communication up to this point. He's really liked the process that we currently have. We've tweaked a couple things, but the communication's been great, and ultimately we're just trying to do what's best for the Giants, whatever part of the process it is. Yeah, Jordan, having that piece is very important. There's a lot of sleepless nights last year when you're trying to fill that one, because if you don't have that piece, then a lot of times it really doesn't matter if you don't have a quarterback. So we definitely have more flexibility. We have some holes, and that's where we'll see what's going to come up in free agency. We have some UFAs that we would like to keep, and if we can't keep them, then that certainly opens up other holes. So yes, you feel good about having the quarterback, but there are some other positions that we're going to need to fill throughout this free agency process. Yeah, and I mean, when you look at who the starters are that are up, like you have to fill those holes because you don't currently have starters in some of those situations. So we'll go through this week. We'll meet with their agents. We'll gather a lot of information. And then when we get back to the office next week, that's when the strategy will start to take place.
Do the rehabs of Malik and Cam create an urgency for you to spend big, either free agency or in the draft, on like a skill player, a position player to put with Jaxson, not knowing exactly what that's going to happen?
Not necessarily with those two. I feel good about where those two are in their rehab. But yeah, you're always going to want to add more explosiveness to your offense, guys that score touchdowns, wherever that comes from, running back, receiver, tight end, whatever it may be, always going to look for more explosive players and guys that can add touchdowns. So that'll be certainly something that we'll look for. I've been texting with him the last couple of days, and he's in a good spot. He feels good, and yeah, the plan is hopefully for him to still be ready for training camp. Again, don't hold me to it. Things change. You guys have done this before. I learned my lesson, but every patient reacts different, and hopefully there's no setbacks. But the plan is for him to be ready to go for training camp.
He's in California?
He's not in California. No, he's down in Miami. Yeah.
Some of those organizational changes, like I think for fans, they kind of look at like, oh, when the coach comes in, there's play calling, there's no players, and I think there's a lot more to be a coach, which is those two things. So I think, how would you explain some of the changes that the training staff said, some of the volunteers? How would you explain to fans like the things beyond just what you see on Sunday for the practice, how that kind of impacts the overall team?
So say that again. I'm trying to.
Like, how would you explain how the overall organization, like some of the changes that John's come in and worked with, something like updating parts of the football beyond just players, training staff, some of those things that these fans can see every day, how they, like some of those changes you've seen, how it can help?
Yeah, we've made some changes throughout the the football organization, whether it was bringing in Adam Bennett as our head trainer, Don Aponte. We're going to probably hire a video director here sooner than later. So there are some changes that we've made, and again, those are decisions that were organizational decisions in terms of upgrading those departments and adding some new thoughts, ideas, philosophies in different departments. So a lot of the upgrades I like. We put together a phenomenal coaching staff. Coach and I worked long and hard on the coaching staff. We did a ton of Zooms with the trainers in Dawn's position, along with video directors. So we've learned a lot over the last 3 to 4 weeks just from doing these Zooms, and we brought on some candidates that'll really help those particular departments.
Is there anything that can happen here that actually changes forward?
What's that?
Is there anything that can happen here that actually changes forward?
Yeah, not so much on the field, but getting around the kids, and the interviews are very important to us. Getting to know them as individuals. We call it football character and personal character. Any off-field issues that we need to to address. So making sure that the fit's right for our organization and what we're looking for from a football character and personal character. But the on-field stuff, we try not to move guys too much based off of what they do in shorts and t-shirts.
What will Don's role be in scouting, and why is she reporting to us?
Yeah, again, it's well documented. We made some reporting changes throughout the organization. Video and analytics will report to Dawn, and just great for the New York Giants to get Dawn Aponte. Like the diversity of her skill set at the league office, the 3 teams that she's worked with before. She's been on health and safety committees. She's been in charge of the salary cap negotiations in the past. So her skill set's going to help us across the entire, football organization. So, a really good hire, a really good ad for the New York Giants that I'm fired up about.
Who will direct the conversations about contracts with like agents or free agents? Are you running those meetings? Is Dawn running those? Are you doing that collaboratively?
Yeah, and Pat, I'm still the general manager of the team, and my role has not changed. I'm still tasked with leading the entire football operation, and we're going to work in collaboration like most good teams do, and it's going to be a collaborative. Everybody's going to have their role, but there's constant communication between Dawn, Coach Harbaugh, myself, in terms of how we're going to build the football operation, and then how we're going to execute, the draft, trades, free agency, contract signings, coaching staff, whatever it may be. We're going to work in collaboration together. We're aligned in that, and it's been going really good so far. I'm not going to get into my personal situation, Jordan. I appreciate it.
Joe, how
We've got some that we use internally. We have a algorithm that we use in terms of how we come up with that. So it's a tool. We don't again, there's 32 teams. Everybody does it differently. So you use it as a tool, but it doesn't drive the process by any means.
How important is it, Dawn, is some of the responsibilities that she's going to be having? Does that at all allow you, where she was here, maybe you're focusing on other things, you can now focus on different aspects that maybe you weren't as able to be as involved in, and she can take other things off the plate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, again, she's a tremendous resource with a lot of experience. So I will lean on Dawn in terms of her expertise and her background when I see fit. So again, I see her as a tremendous resource. Again, with her salary cap background, she's basically it's an easy transition because it's a lot of what Kevin Abrams was doing. If you guys remember what Kevin's role was, so it's essentially the same. Again, a different skill set maybe and a different background than what Kevin has. So some different strengths and weaknesses. So. But just a really good hire for us, and she's been a tremendous asset this far.
Joe, how important is it to
work with Mike Kafka? He's now in Detroit. What was your experience like working with him, and what gives him a chance to have success with Detroit's offense?
Yeah, Mike was phenomenal to work with in two different roles. Obviously he was our offensive coordinator. He went through the quarterback search with us last year. Really got to know him through that process, and then being an interim head coach. So you're getting a bright football mind that's a really good communicator that has a track record of success with young quarterbacks.
Joe, how important is it to build out?
The roster during Jaxson Dart's rookie contract.
Yeah, I mean, regardless who's in that position, you want to build out the roster, but it is you're at an advantage when you talk about a surplus at those positions, and the quarterback position, what those guys are getting on the open market. Okay, you like to build it out. Like, what would Abdul get on the open market? Well, he's on a rookie contract. What would Malik Nabers get on the open market? Okay, we're paying Malik what we are, but receivers are getting $40 million a year. So to me, we have some young core pieces at a position where we have a surplus in value, and we are going to try to build it out. Obviously, in that window where Jaxson is still on the rookie deal.
Just 2 picks inside the top 100. How do you balance trading back because you may need more draft capital, or it's the best for the Giants?
Yeah, we're gonna look at all options. We're open to moving back if an opportunity is there. We're also fine staying and taking a player there. And if you can't get out of 5, there's always a chance in the second round if you want to move back. Or if there's a good player, you can sit and take them. You can move back into the first round. So we're gonna keep all of our options open.
Joe, the last few years.
Yeah, you're always evaluating all the teams around the league and how they build, how they do contracts, how they draft, how they do free agency. So you're evaluating all 31 teams when you do that, along with yourself, and always looking to see if there's stuff that we can do better.
Joe, you're on a very similar trajectory as the Patriots this year. New veteran head coach, year 2 at quarterback, coming off a 4-win season. How do you replicate what they did this year to make that not just a playoff run, but a Super Bowl caliber team as well?
Yeah, that'd be awesome if we could do that. I'd sign up for that right now. But again, we're just starting our process. So again, be detailed throughout our entire process, the free agency period, the draft. They did a really good job. They had a lot of money last year too. The Patriots did, but clear plan in place. Coach and I are aligned in how we're going to build it. And again, we have a young core in place. Not that they didn't, but I like some of the young guys that we have in place. And again, we'll just continue to build on that.
Joe, how do you guys have had the NILs for several years? This much of a change in the mental makeup of these players that are coming in. How do you evaluate some of these guys are coming in?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're always trying to evaluate that because it used to be, what's this kid going to be like with money? What's he going to do? Well, you couldn't really answer the question because you didn't know. Now these guys all come to the league and they have money. So now it's how much do they love football? Would they do it for free? So we're always trying to analyze, do they transfer 4 times because they're chasing the bag? So that's really what our scouts do a phenomenal job. They do a great job of getting background at the schools. Their relationships with coaches, that's where it's integral. And we've got a veteran staff that does a really good job with the background check and have a really good feel for who these individuals are.
Joe, it's been a struggle to
Balancing who's available on the board versus fulfilling your needs as a team.
Yeah, that's always a fine balance as you're going through it. Again, I've told you guys before, I like to go into the draft being able to play a game so you don't back yourself into a corner. So if we can address our needs throughout free agency, wherever it is, high value guys, mid-tier, VSBs, but on draft day you could go play a game, then you don't back yourself into a corner and you can take the best player available. So ideally that's what you do. If you back yourself into a corner and you take a need base, sometimes that's where mistakes can be made.
Joe,
Yeah, that's a good question too. To me, some of it's the lack of continuity. Like these guys are transferring. Every quarterback last year that was drafted other than Milroe transferred. So you're not sitting in one system for 3 or 4 years and learning the nuances and intricacies of the system. You're going from one school to the next school to the next school, new offense, new coaches, new techniques, and you're not able to develop. So to me, at the quarterback position, I think there is some merit to being in one place for an extended amount of time and truly mastering the offense. How did we measure that with Jaxson? Yeah, you also want to take the player's strength and then build around what the player does well versus, square peg, round hole. We're going to ask this guy to do stuff that he's not good at. And, I would say during the season, there was a couple games when Jaxson came back, we maybe went away from some of the stuff that he did well. And, then eventually we went back to it. So I think that's a good example of, find out what the players do well and then have them go execute, what they feel comfortable executing.
Joe,
We'll take three more.
Joe, it's been a struggle to stop the run for the Giants recently. How big of a priority is it going to be in this offseason to address that? And has your thoughts on how to build a run defense to stop the run changed?
Yeah, Coach and I have talked about that a lot. Stopping the run is very important to Coach Harbaugh. It's important to everybody. It's just something we haven't done well. So that is definitely something that we'll be conscious of this offseason in terms of how we're going to be able to do that better.
Joe, what is the organization's position on whether Steve Tisch should remain inactive on the team?
Yeah, Steve released a statement a few weeks ago, about the regret. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to comment any more on that.
Last one.
Best player available thing during the draft. Is there a point where a need becomes so great that dynamic changes?
Yeah, you want to get the value right. So, ideally, the need and the value. Like this guy belongs here in the second round, and it's a need. That's when you take that player. Now, if it's a need position and non-need position, they're on the same level, or maybe one box below, you naturally lean towards the need.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Outside.
That's not my fault.